Oh good, that actually works. And it works at a reasonable rate now. I'm done. Also, how you doing tonight, Bill? I did see you pop in just as I was sitting back down. That's why I can't freaking control. Very hot is the answer. The heat came back today, and unfortunately rain didn't follow. But on the bright side, I'm able to actually move decently. So, me readjusting everything on... Yeah, super hot. Me readjusting, and by that I mean uninstalling and then fully reinstalling OBS. At least solved a minor problem. Hey Ray, thanks for the hydrate. The double hydrate? Triple hydrate? Are you trying to waterboard me? I did need that though. The cold water is much appreciated in off stream. Am I not allowed to freaking... There we go. I was unable to, for some reason, use my mod tools from my little... Oh, I realize, looking at it on, the direct YouTube feed, that that's a smug cat. It is, like I said though, very hot today, so we're not doing Plan A of art because my tablet gives off a lot of heat, or a decent amount of heat anyway. And running even more stuff's just gonna exacerbate the amount of freaking heat that I'm dealing with. So I'm gonna start off with a little bit of yapping, just because, you know me, I like to fucking talk. I like to hear myself talk. I don't like to listen to my voice, but I like to hear myself talk, if that makes sense. It is nice, though, like, that the majority of things are settling a little bit, though. At least as far as, like, shit that everyone's been dealing with for the past few months. I don't even know how else to describe it aside from fucking months at this point. Because obviously I had my segment where I was crashing out like every 3 days or something. Unless they're paying you, you should just be able to tell them, fucking find someone else if you're sick. I mean, even if you are getting paid, technically you're supposed to be able to have sick leave on anything. But the point is that, honestly, what day is tomorrow? Wednesday? Wednesday I'm really freaking putting my nose to the grindstone and working more on that commission. Assuming I'm not dying of heat. I did say that I would have the sketch at least ready for them by Thursday. Because I knew that Wednesday at the very least would be my quote-unquote break day. So I wind up actually doing a little bit of, I mean, I'll do like... Can I help you, Stinky? It's too hot. You can't come up here and cuddle. Come on. Where are you? Where are you? Where did you go? Why do you have stuff all over your face? What is this? Need to check you. Make sure you don't got any ticks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that these are grass seeds all over you. I was semi-tempted to, what's the word I'm looking for? I was semi-tempted to get to... Nope. Lost my train of thought. Oh, right. Set up the hand cam and actually build some of the things that I've had sitting around. But I'm lazy. And setting up the hand cam is actually an endeavor in itself. I don't have like a proper stand for the camera, so I have a rod over there that I run from my shelf over here all the way over to what is normally like a stack of tubs over on this desk over here. And then I hang what used to be my tracking camera from that. It's also just, in general, kinda too fucking hot. And I don't want people just freaking getting free body shots. You guys gotta pay for that. Well, some of you have to pay for that. Why did you decide that now is when you want to cuddle? Well, Are my captions actually working? Oh, my captions are disabled? Huh? Alright. Now that... If I do that and save... No? Go preview. Captioning enabled? Okay, there we go. Why do I not just have a free... Why do I not just have a free-floating button to enable or disable captioning? I was wondering why my, also valid. I was wondering why I had so much extra space just sitting on my, bar here. And it was because at first I didn't actually have my captions back on. I mean, even if I had, like, if I hadn't been stupid and remembered to have all my scenes up the way that they're supposed to. Even if that was a thing that hadn't happened, I would have still had a little bit of a problem with the fact that, I had to reinstall all my plugins. The interesting thing is, there is one plugin that I have no idea where it is in the files. I have an older plugin from when I originally tried multi-streaming. And I have no idea I've been meaning to look into it. I'm just, again, lazy. Wanting to figure out how everything sorts out and whatnot. Oh, one thing I did do last night. Ahem. Fuck. That hotkey is still not set up. One moment. That was the thing I forgot to do last night when I freaking... I set up the entire goddamn scene, and... But I actually resized. I made a template for whenever I have art over there. And ignore the fact that that's up there. I need to set it to where that's only manual. But I set up a template for that to be a specific size, so that I can sort out any of them in order to actually be the right size for that. Any arts that I do. And the Rhea one's like the big example because that's like my landscape piece. So I place it onto the template, and then I readjust it to where it's centered the way that I want it to be, and then it'll be oriented to where I can work on art and have that perfectly fine. I guess I do have a few landscape pieces that I put in there now that I, you know, actually had. But the big one was, actually, let me freaking select this. This one and this one are offset enough. Hello? The two fleshy ones are offset enough to where if I just flat out do it, this fleshy's the way it is, but the second fleshy, which is the older fleshy ironically enough, has her face half hanging off the edge for the way that I was setting it up originally. I don't know how previous me actually set things up. But I figured out, I finally got off my ass and put, like, a template up. The only art source right now is Clip Studio, though. And I hate the way that everything picks stuff up. But Clip Studio is the only source that I currently have. I have it oriented, and I lined these up so that they're not off-kiltered. And then obviously, actually, let me grab the single thing that I want. But I set up pip. That way we actually can, like, watch stuff if we want. In the middle of, us doing as we please. Hey, bring down. I don't really want to make that much larger than it already is. But yeah, our art scene's all set up. I set that up all last night because I was like, oh, we'll do art today. And then it was fucking hot. What is the temperature currently? It is 77 outside, which means it's probably closer to like 97 here in my room. Because it takes like 6 fucking hours for that to make it all the way this way. But that's part of why I figured that, you know, we have a short little yappin' stream, maybe do a little React Andy, because Genso Chronicle has been sitting on my goddamn list for however long. He doesn't upload frequently enough that it becomes a big problem. But I really freaking sit on things for far too long. Especially if, like, the next thing I have on something is multiple hours long. Like, some of my oldest freaking YouTube tabs are... well, one of them's a fucking stream, which is a series of streams, because I want to see Ryora's point of view from Enigmatic Recollection. Some tabletop stuff, X, Y, and Z. Dead Sound I can probably remove from this because I've caught up on his videos. I just, for some reason in my brain, want to constantly have it up for the sake of, hey, maybe the next time he uploads, I'll be able to keep track of it. Because YouTube doesn't do that, and I really don't feel like turning on, like, email/push notifications for YouTube. Yeah, but I don't use Chrome anymore. They blocked uBlock Origin, which is a very ironic thing to do that. So, like, every site that I go on to is, like, all the sites that I used that were like, ooh, can you please, turn off your ad blocker? We swear we won't bombard you with too many ads. It'll just be a banner ad here and there. And then I go in there and it's just, you know, fat 3D cocks and hardcore hentai ads and shit. That's what uBlock Origin is. It's like the best ad block there is. And Google has revoked all of its licensing on Chrome because it was good against YouTube. I'm an artist. I search a lot of things. I'm also a not safe for work artist, so I search a lot of not safe for work things. You don't have to wonder what I'm searching. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is I search stuff on different freaking platforms, I guess is the best way to put it. I'll obviously, when I'm searching Danburu or Gelburu, actually I use Gelburu because I'm allowed to use more than one, allowed to use more than 2 tags while searching without paying for it. It has slightly fewer results, but it also is able to be more refined, which is still a bitch, because every time there's at least one thing I'm trying to look for that doesn't have what I'm looking for. Like, when I was trying to do the original idea for, I forget if it was the Be Right Back screen or the ending screen. I had an idea for Nasu lying on their scythe. And I was like, okay, like, I know that I've seen, at the very least, witches lying on their brooms at this kind of, like, angle. For the idea I have. I couldn't find anything for the life of me. One of the worst ones is if there's something more generic, like arms up or something. Like when I was doing the patchouli piece. First of all, arms up just means half the time just not at the side. But secondly, unless you're looking on SafeBuru, half of the time it's another individual holding the arms up in a less than clothed style. Which doesn't exactly work, because that's not what I'm freaking after. I don't want the freaking crossed arms. Or the crossed wrists, or whatever you want to call it. I'm after more like what I did for the Patchouli one, where the arms are just, like, up. But I don't know. The point is that it is very, 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 very difficult to actually find references for what I'm looking for half the time. And the more generic the pose, the more difficult it is. What was the most recent one that I was looking for? Pose-wise, that was really a bitch to try and find anything for. Hands on hips are really bad. Because even... Oh. Arms over the shoulder. That's a bad one. Because I was trying... For the Nasu Pride Month piece, that was the one that gave me a pain in the ass. Because I wanted to have the wrists be on, like, each of their shoulders and then hanging over. There's no results for that shit. And the thing is, there's an independent tag for arms on another shoulder, so it's not just, like... I don't know how freaking to put it. But the problem is that if I try and find multiple people for that, or something, then even if I refine it with, like, 3 people, arms on another shoulder, freaking try and take away any tags I can think of that would regard not safe for work, it's still freaking arms on the other person's shoulder, facing them exclusively, a third character in the background if I'm lucky that hasn't been mistagged, and 90% of the time it's not safe for work, so I don't know. Fucking searching for art references is a bitch and a half. And then when I try and find in my 800 folders the right goddamn reference, apparently they all just disappear. I get gaslit by technology saying, oh, that pose has never existed in the entirety of human existence. You've never, ever in your life seen that kind of pose. You came up with that pose with your goddamn brainworms. And I'm like, bullshit, I know this pose. I can picture the characters in my brain that are doing this pose. The exact goddamn scene from whatever fucking anime or whatever fan art freaking did it. Like the broom one that I was referring to. I know that Marissa has been drawn with the lying on her broom multiple times, right? As the biggest example. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't even get tentacle type ads. Partially because tentacles have been banned from basically everywhere aside from the Boers at this point. And God, that's at any point on the horizon at this point. It's kind of fucking ridiculous, to be honest. Let me take a look at this real quick. I opened up my emails to make sure I hadn't missed anything. Dead Cells, Hollow Knight, Nine Souls, Blasphemous. Ooh, that's... sounds promising. I might actually sign up for this one. Because it sounds like it could be a fun little FAFO Friday kind of game. Especially now that my CPU isn't being cooked alive by OBS alone. 20% currently, by the way. My CPU in totality is not really dipping above 80%. And hopefully, because I did get a response from my uncle, hopefully he can get a hold of my late grandmother's computer. So we should have, like, a base to work around soon. And then we will be... I don't know if I'd say golden. I mean, for fuck's sake. Golden is... We have not been golden since before we fucking started this journey. I don't even know if I'd say silver at this point. If Plan A had gone through... If Plan B had gone through... I can't even say Plan A. If Plan A had gone through, we would have been golden. Plan B was what we were on when the computer got stolen. That was, like, silver. At this point, we're in, like, bronze. Trying to piece things together. So, what do, you know? Okay. Honestly, that's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm going bald from this shit. Which would really suck, because I really like my long hair. Also, I can close Clip Studio at this point because, We're not doing art tonight. Apparently my Discord has decided that it is time to break. Also, since tonight's just kind of a yapping night, did you want to hang out, Tebber? Assuming you're still listening, or were listening in the first place. Occasionally, Tebber listens. Alright, fair enough. I figured I'd ask because I noticed that you were in one of, like, the normal hangout chats rather than in a streaming chat. So I didn't want to just pop in while I'm live. I mean, makes sense. You're still getting used to a newer schedule. How long is this? This is little under 2 hours long. "12 fucking years! God, I'm old. Oh, there was something that got a freaking... that just had its 18th anniversary this past week. And I felt my good knee give out seeing that. I hate how I have to specify my good knee. I don't know, dude. Ugh. At least the heat's starting to finally dissipate, like, even this far into my house. I am kind of wondering what I am going to do, exactly post-stream tonight. I might work on... I know what I'm gonna do. This month's monthly Nasu is going to be another emote. We're gonna finally get a dink donk. Because I did say that I wanted to make one of those. That way I can add it to my going live notifications. I'm wondering how you wound up getting such a severe stomach bug. Unless it's food poisoning. Ew, why'd you do that? No. The one weakness. The need for food. Ugh. Everyone's been getting sick this week, though, which is fucking certainly something. The closest I've gotten is the fact that I freaking have been overheating. I was very close to thinking that today was going to have to be an ice pack day, otherwise I'd combust. So, who knows, dude? I was also kind of debating if I was going to do stream at all tonight. Because when I got... I mean, firstly, I woke up late because of how hot it was. It was like nearly 7 by the time I got up. And it was like 7:30 by the time I took care of, you know, starting day chores. And by that I mean it's Tuesday, so it was garbage. Most everything else I take care of in, like, the actual morning. Aside from vacuuming. Because obviously I'm not going to vacuum while people are sleeping. I do not like being observed, though, so I do tend to freaking vacuum when people are out shopping and whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. Also, it has been very, very peaceful the past 2 weeks. Which is unexpected. Not like in the grand scheme of things, because obviously everything that happened last week, but... What happened on your end? Because excluding, like, the obvious big thing of last week... Yeah, that checks out. Knowing half the people that you deal with, I freaking am completely unsurprised. Who the fuck uses Twitch Whispers aside from scammers and people that are doing giveaways? I think that the only time that I have ever been Twitch Whispered, two exceptions, and both of them were someone that I followed while they were offline and they wanted to thank me for following them. And I was like, I mean, I kind of follow people while they're offline so I don't get perceived. I appreciate the thank you, but I don't... I do this so I don't get called out. But, yeah, aside from that, the only time that I've been contacted in Twitch Whispers is scammers who don't even try and hide that they're scammers. Aside from the one example of you getting scolded, which I thought was directly in Twitch chat, I don't recall you mentioning any. But I've won a few giveaways from various people, and they normally contact through Twitch Whispers because they have it set to where if they don't contact first, then they don't they can't be contacted. So it keeps them from getting pestered by people after they do the giveaways, unlike certain other platforms and whatnot. Which is neat. And fair. But most of the time, it's people that are doing the I contacted you, random person from this other chat. Have you considered I don't know what they normally freaking offer. Normally, they don't even get past the first message before they get freaking sniped by Twitch anyway, so... Because they'll freaking... contact me while I'm not looking or something. Actually, I haven't really gotten one of those, since I got the SSD and started actually shutting my PC off more regularly, so I don't wind up, you know, traveling through 80 Twitch chats. My most recent Discord scam bot was someone who was like trying to act like slick and whatnot, and I think that they were hacked because like their stuff seemed official enough, like their account and whatnot, but they were also like, oh, I play BioShock, despite the fact that they had only recently played BioShock, the account that they claimed that they were. And their account was like, I play things like Warzone and fucking some other competitive shooters and whatnot. I think it was competitive shooters or whatever. And then they're like trying to be slick and be like, oh, how has streaming been for you, fellow streamer that I totally stream? Blah, blah, blah. Have you considered using this program in order to improve your streaming capabilities and increase your following? And I'm like, you're a fucking scammer. And then I told the head of the freaking head of that server that they contacted me from because I'm friends with them, and they're like, oh, yep, thanks for informing me. I should have known based off of the way that they were acting that they were... Or based off of the way that their profile was set up that they were a scammer. I'm like, yep, well, it happens. At least we got rid of them. Because they're fucking stupid. And they always for some reason, decide that I'm the person to go to whenever they're trying to scam. Hey, you're an artist who advertises that you do exclusively all your own art? Would you be interested in my totally not scam art? Fuck off. I don't know. We are in ad break in a second. I really have to use the bathroom, and I need to get a refill my drink. Back. Did I remember to put my BRB on this scene yet? That's not what I wanted. Not at all. Why can I put an entire scene on this freaking... That's goofy. I just need the text. Good enough. Oh, Lord. Ow. Fuck. It does kind of amuse me at times whenever, certain... What's the word I'm looking for? Certain individuals are like, oh, hey, I'm gonna be brazenly a fucking bot and whatnot. Like, yesterday I got that one bot that popped up that was like, oh, hey, do you want to improve your streaming career? I can get you like 1,000 followers for less than $1,000. And it's like, bruh, I don't even have $100. I do have 100, but Christ knows I'm not spending that. That's for reserve for in case freaking I suddenly get surprise attacked by a company or something. Again. I'm going to go back to this. I do kind of wanna... that. Huh. Small world. I just got commented on on Blue Sky by someone that I know from another art server that I'm in. That is completely unrelated to the primary circle that I was within. Very funny. Very interesting. Oh boy, let me read through this shit. What the fuck, dude? Some people be crazy at times. Either way, let us do a little bit of tohoing at the very least before before I end? I got about an hour 15 before I would want to call it. Especially because I really need to fucking epilate tonight, so ending at midnight is kind of the preferred. So let me migrate over to this so that I can migrate over to this. I can pause this music because it's not even audible to you guys. We'll add I will add this to this though. That way if we're like in the middle or like in between videos or something, I can... Yeah, this should already be picking up browser stuff. But I found this person originally via their world building video. Go figure. Person doing world building found that is also interested in Toho. Found a Toho channel because of world building video. We're at 11. I need to... Just one thing. Hello, can I find what I'm after? Put that. I do need to check as to when I'm allowed to freaking unbald myself. But they also recently visited the Cherno Museum, which I actually forgot who this was at first. Saw the title, thought this was going to be like some sort of freaking bashing video or something, because obviously also because I'm the kind of... I'm not the kind of asshole that does that. I've kind of did the same thing, is what I'm saying. I freaking... did the clickbait of, oh, these people ruined my project. And then, like, it was the clip of me freaking, or the, like, highlight of me freaking talking about how people are kind of dicks and should not be as much of dicks. This is different, though. This is just a, like, review kind of deal of the Cherno Museum itself. Which those that don't actually know... that's one of, like, the yearly tradition kind of deals, is I do a Cherno Day art, and if all is right in the world, it is a marker of everything still being at least partially right in the world, is a retweet from the Cherno Museum. It is a small...
Have you ever wondered about the...
It is a small thing, but... it's something that I look forward to every year. I'm also going to crop this. Let me... is that where I want that to be? Is that fine? I think that the amount that chat's covering is unimportant enough that I can leave it at that size.
Have you ever wondered about the inspirations for your favorite media? Better question, have you ever traveled to real historic locations that inspired it? From real history to natural phenomena only found here, this is exactly what I did during my trip to Japan, and I'll be sharing my discoveries. This past winter, I was able to visit Japan for a couple of weeks.
Oh, so wait, so it's gonna be like multiple different things? It's just one of those things where the title is one thing and then like 20 different things are actually covered in it.
During that time, I was able to spend a few days in the Nagano prefecture, or more specifically in Suwa, a city situated around the prominent Lake Suwa, otherwise known as Suwa-ko. For most visitors, it is a city known for its natural hot springs and historic shrines. However, for fans of the Toho project, it is a region that has deeply influenced the series through its history, culture, and geography, most notably
all my stuff
Toho Fujinroku.
Why in God's green earth does this video in particular start cooking my CPU up? I noticed that everything reset for a moment there. I saw all the freaking things along the bottom of my screen just reload, and I was very confused.
Mountain of Faith. The most prominent of these influences, most notably Toho Fujinroku, Mountain of Faith. The most prominent of these influences is of course Suwadai Myojin, or Suwa Taisha, a complex of 4 shrines explained by the Nihon Shoki to already be standing in the late 7th century. It is considered to be one of the oldest shrine complexes in existence. The term Myojin was used to refer to notable kami and the shrines that held them. The 4 main shrines are divided into 2 upper and 2 lower shrines, with some 60 other auxiliary shrines scattered around Suwa. I'll be talking about a few of them as well, but for now, let's take a look around Suwa. The first of these shrines that we visited immediately after arriving was Shimosha Akimiya, one of the lower shrines. I should also...
Okay, this is completely unrelated to the video, but God, I'm just remembering freaking the death of, at least in the West, the death of Magikami, and how it died like right in the middle of a story arc. Part of which was related to like otherworld shrines, and I'm God damn it, dude.
Also note here that our visit was right after New Year's, meaning people would be actively visiting the shrines for Atsumode, which is the first shrine visit of the Japanese New Year. This is why you'll see a lot of visitors right now, as well as the remnants of celebrations from just a few days prior. Yasaka Tome no Mikoto is enshrined here from August to February before being transferred to the other lower shrine, Harumiya, for the duration of February to July. Haru for spring, and Aki for fall. Pretty easy to remember. The first thing you'll notice at Akimiya is Kagura-den, which can be found in the background of Kaneko's spell cards from the game. You can tell these shrines get a lot of visits from Toho fans just by checking out the Emma hung at the shrines. These are the ones I found at Akimiya. Following this, we went right to the other the Emma hung at the shrines. These are the ones I found.
Can I please pause? Suiko Sanene. Futo?
All these shrines get a lot of visits from Toho fans just...
Remy, Suiko... Blonde, maybe? Suiko. I'm assuming this is the trio here as well.
By checking out the Emma hung at the...
Is this medicine, maybe? Maybe Kaneko.
The shrines. These are the ones I found at Akimiya. Following this, we went right to the other lower shrine, Harumiya. 2 of Yasaka Kaneko's spell cards actually have origins here. The first being Tsutsugayu Kami no Kayu, or God's Rice Porridge, a reference to the ritual that happens here on the 5th Kami no Kayu, or God's Rice Porridge, a reference to the ritual that happens here on the 15th of January known as Tsutsugayu Shinji at Tsutsugayuden, pictured here. The ritual involves placing reed tubes in a porridge of rice and adzuki beans, from which the amount of gruel that seeps into the tube tells the success of crops for the next harvest. The second spell card's inspiration is more clearly visible, Musubi no Sugi. This large cedar tree is the inspiration for Kanako's extra stage spell, Sugi de Musubu Furuki Enishi, or Ancient Fate Linked by Cedars. This tree is called the Cedar of Matchmaking because of its bifurcated trunk and is considered a power spot. And of course, here are the Emma for
Nitori. What? Chinchillas? Suiko, Sanene. Maybe Dorami? Sanene over here.
Harumiya. You might think we took a break at this point, but we were only going to be in Suwa until our train the next morning, so we started the long trek to the upper shrines. Now, I mentioned Yasuka Tome no Mikoto was enshrined at the lower shrines, and if the spell cards didn't, the name might have given away that she is indeed the inspiration for Yasuka Kanako. Taki Minakata no Mikoto, Yasuka Tome's husband, is the god worshipped at the upper shrines. Can you guess which Toho character takes inspiration from Taki Minakata?
Yuri fans eaten once again thanks to Toho.
That's right, Yasuka Kanako.
Oh.
In Toho canon, everything
Self-cessed on
Kanako
top
did,
of it.
including the Great Suwa War, would make them Taki Minakata. But she doesn't just take from Yasuka Tome's name. In one story involving the goddess, when Yasuka Tome left her husband's place and moved to the north of Lake Suwa, where the two shrines that make up the lower shrine currently stand, she took with her a wad of cotton soaked in hot water. Upon arriving in her new home, she dropped the cotton ball on the ground. Hot spring water gushed out from the spot where the cotton fell. This is considered to be the mythical origin of the hot springs of the town of Shimosua. Yasuka Tome's association with hot springs could be an inspiration for Kanako's involvement in the events of subterranean animism. So what about Suwako? Well, she was the god that Taki Minakata defeated in the war, Moriya no Kami. This is known as the Great Suwa War. Moriya's weapon was said to be an iron ring, which you can see Suwako use in Hiso Tensoku, as well as the name of her spell card, Moriya's Iron Ring. Upon her surrender, Moriya and her descendants would be made to serve the Suwa shrine as head priests. One of these descendants, of course, being Kochiya Sanae. So, that was a lot of names, but
Jesus, fuck. Who's doing what? Oh, it's the sound of my freaking...
it's not too bad. In case you're wondering where Suwako is enshrined, she's at Moriya Jinja in Okaya. While the four Suwa Taisha shrines tend to have a lot of Toho-themed Emmas, Moriya Jinja tends to have not only a much higher percentage, but many other Toho-themed off.
Suwako. Nene, Suwako. Is that a Suwako?
And after a long walk, we finally made it to Kamisha Honmiya, the main shrine of Suwa Taisha. This is unsurprisingly the shrine with the most visits. Even though New Year's was a few days ago, there's still plenty of stalls open with visitors walking around. And of course, here's a quick shot of some of the Emma we found there. There's a couple more spell card inspirations here. One is Otensui no Kiseki, Miracle of Otensui. This refers to one of the 7 wonders of Suwa Taisha. 3 drops of water.
You can wait 14 minutes or you could redeem it again. There is a non-zero chance that Tebber just comes back and rebalds me, though, if you wait the 14 minutes, because they tend to do that.
Water are said to fall into a small building in the main compound known as the Tenryu Suisha every day, no matter what the weather is like. Crops watered with it will not die, and using it in prayers for rain ensures the prayer's success. Also, remember that Tenryu Miracle of Otensui. This refers to one of the 7 wonders of Suwa Taisha. 3 drops of water are said to fall into a small building in the main compound known as the Tenryu Suisha every day, no matter what the weather is like. Crops
Interesting.
watered with it will not die, and using it in prayers for rain ensures the prayer's success. Also, remember that rice porridge spell? On hard mode, this spell is replaced with a spell called Unremembered Crop. While the ritual for the porridge is only done at Harumiya, in the past it used to be held at the main shrine as well. It is believed that this spell is a reference to this old tradition. We now had 1 main shrine left to visit, and we were planning to do so before it got dark. So once more, we began walking, this time to Kamisha Maemiya, the former shrine. This shrine felt a bit more humble than the previous ones we visited, but I liked the scenery here the most. You go up a long hill path leading to a small shrine that sits in the shade. To the side is a river that runs along the path, and on the way back you can see quite a bit of the city. You might be surprised to know that this river that runs along the path to the shrine, known as Suiga no Seiryu, is yet another inspiration for one of Kanako's spell cards, Suiga no Gotoki Utsukushi Gensen, or Beautiful
my eyes are
Spring
glazing over.
like Suiga. There's also a Toho-themed cafe here that I would have
Cute!
loved to visit and show you, but unfortunately it was closed at the time. Hopefully I'll get to try again next year. But at this point, it was time for us to finally head to our hotel. And I have to say, it was easily the best hospitality I've ever had. We roomed on the superb view floor, which was located at the top of the hotel, aside from the room at the very top, reserved for large parties. But even from where we were, as the name implied, we had a lovely view of Lake Suwa, which was only a minute walk away. And while this wasn't my first time in Japan, it was my first time experiencing the Japanese onsen, which was an experience. I'd love to share photos, but unfortunately my video camera would have been damaged from the heat, so you'll have to settle for this artistic rendition. There was also a nice little gift shop that sold all sorts of local goods.
Alright, bud.
There's merchandise of the different mascots, including Suahime, who we saw quite often on signs and shops and other buildings as we walked around the city. But I think the highlight of staying here had to be the food. For both dinner and the next morning's breakfast, we were treated to a 5-course meal of some of the best food I've ever had in a long time. And after...
Oh. That looked really good, dude. Now I'm hungry, dude. Oh, to have the money to afford quality ingredients.
Walking around for just under 30 kilometers that day and soaking in the onsen, I was ready to eat. The next morning, we left the hotel, but not before the woman who took care of our service gave me a gift. I was told they don't know that day, and soaking in the onsen, I was ready to eat. The next morning, we left the hotel, but not before the woman who took care of our service gave me a gift. I was told they don't normally give those out to everyone, so suffice to say, I had to give them the highest recommendation I can. But with that done, it was finally time to do some more sightseeing before our return to Tokyo. And what better way to continue than with some more history and culture about the region? Onbashira Matsuri is a festival that takes place every 7 years in Suwa that involves replacing 4 wooden pillars that stand at the 4 corners of local shrines. The most prominent of these are the ones found at the 4 main shrines of Suwa Taisha. One of the pillars at Maemiya, Ninomiya Bashira, is actually pictured inside of the case of Toho 10, Mountain of Faith. But this isn't the only...
The exact pillar is gone, pillars are replaced each festival, picture from the case is taken prior to 2007.
Only reference to the Onbashira festival. Kanako's very first spell card on lower difficulties is Divine Festival Expanded Onbashira. Likewise, you'll probably see a lot of pillar imagery anywhere with regard to the in-game Moriya Shrine. One of Suako's cards, Nanatsu no Ishi to Nanatsu no Ki, or 7 stones and 7 trees, also takes inspiration from sacred stones and trees scattered across Suwa and the adjacent city, Shino. You might also be wondering about Suako's Frog Association. Well, there happens to be a frog hunting ritual that takes place in the upper shrines every New Year's Day, in which frogs are skewered and offered to the shrine. The origins of this are said
What the fuck, dude? It's like, oh yeah, this will be a cute little thing. Yeah, that based off of Suiko. She's cute. And they'll freaking have a cute little frog hunting thing, and we'll wind up like, I don't know. I expected them to be migrators or something, maybe, because you know frogs might wind up a leading problem. No, we're gonna fucking skewer them.
To be Suomyojin's defeat of the wild frog deity. Two of Suiko's spell cards reference this: Frog Hunt, the snake eats the croaking frog, and Red Frog of Hoe 4, which refers to a year in which the ritual was almost cancelled following heavy flooding, only for 3 frogs to miraculously be discovered, allowing the ritual to continue. Oh, and I haven't forgotten Sanae. She doesn't have much lore about her, but I did visit the old head priest's residence, who was said to descend from Taki Minakata. However, it was Mori's descendants who actually ran the shrines. I even managed to pick up a pamphlet that talks about it. I've linked a tweet of mine containing pictures of the pamphlet in the description. There's a few more shrines we visited that I want to talk about, namely Ashinaga and Teinaga Jinja. These can be translated roughly to long leg and long arm. The gods of these shrines, as per their names, were giants, one with long arms and the other with long legs. They were said to be servants of Suomyojin, but despite this, Suiko is the one with a spell card referencing them, Teinaga Ashinaga-sama. Now, I saved what I consider to be the most interesting shrine for last. You see, Suwa Lake has a natural phenomenon that only occurs after a rare series of temperature fluctuations that result in the lake freezing over with a large cracked ridge along its length. This phenomena is known as Omiwatari, or God's Crossing.
What?
The crossing
God's
is believed
green
to be
earth?
Taki Minakata leaving his sanctuary to meet his wife by walking on frozen water. Omiwatari has only appeared 4 times since Mountain of Faith was released, though in the past it was very rare for a year in which Omiwatari did not appear. This shrine, Yatsu, is very rare for a year in which Mountain of Faith was released, though in the past it was very rare for a year in which Omiwatari did not appear.
I mean, the assumption on that is just, you know, due to global warming, or global cooling, depending on your point of view. I don't know which one is more likely to cause it, but like either way, it's going to cause an issue with the temperature fluctuation if to be at a rate that is needed for such a thing to happen.
This shrine, Yatsurugi Jinja, actually handles the ritual for Omiwatari worship, and of course, Kanako has a spell card for this, Omiwatari the God Walked. There is one last place that we went to before returning to Tokyo, Tateishi Park. It's actually famous for a non-Toho related reason. This location was prominently featured in the movie Kimi no Nawa, or Your Name, and you can often find couples coming here year-round. In fact, the main female lead's village was inspired by Suwa itself.
Oh, that's really pretty,
Aside
actually.
from that, it gives us this amazing view of the entire lake and the city surrounding it. Looking south, which is just to the left, you can actually see Mount Moriya. And behind us would be none other than Gensokyo, which is situated around the Yatsugatake mountain range. When I was filming this, there was only one thing on my mind, which was that I could never have imagined a game series that I started playing as a middle schooler more than 15 years ago would lead me to filming historical locations in Japan for however many thousands of viewers. It was a moment I'll never forget, and I think it was the perfect place to conclude my journey through Suwa. And on that note, I hope to see you again next time.
It's fucking insanity, dude. I don't know. I mean, we played this game like a couple weeks back, right? Did we do it because of a special event, or we do it because it was a variety day? I don't remember which. I'm probably gonna skip over this. And we'll do like an actual watching of the series itself, which I believe is this one. Just 12 years old. We'll do like this, actually, at some point, and then we'll watch the video on it. This is a short one, so sure, we'll at least start it.
We got into this thing with the best intentions, really. I never...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? I didn't mean to do that. Please, continue. You were saying something about best intentions?
I love CBT. Kazumi Yuka's CBT is the best CBT I've ever had. And you might be asking, what is CBT? Well, that's a complex question. So before I answer that, I wish to share with you a couple of personal anecdotes about my
What did that exactly say?
Ever had. And you might be asking, what is
Did that
CBT?
say anything in particular, or is it just... Okay, it's just loud power drill noises.
That's a complex question. So before I answer that, I wish to share with you a couple of personal anecdotes about my experiences with CBT. It all started in college when I was experiencing the very typical college symptoms such as hopelessness, anxiety over the future, wanting to die, and assuming the worst out of...
You know, honestly, it's times like this that I'm like, I'm glad that I didn't go through college. You know, and then on top of that, you know, freaking none of my routes actually being something I needed a fucking degree for. Not one that I wouldn't require me to go, like, freaking live in fucking Florida or something for however many years.
Everything. It was at this point that one of my friends...
Considering, like, marine biology is, like, the only thing I can think of that I would have gotten a benefit from college for.
Suggested that I see the college therapist. Let's call them Dr. K. Once Dr. K asked me about my experiences, they suggested that we perform an exercise together, an exercise known as CBT. At first, I was a bit skeptical. How could a simple exercise fix all of my problems? What I wasn't expecting was for CBT to be as painful and eye-opening as it was.
Okay, dude. I get that, like, the secondary joke of this is that you're just edging the freaking viewer for freaking actually what the answer is
By
to
the
what
end
it
of it,
is.
I was crying, unsure, and ready to open a new chapter in my life. A chapter that could only be opened through the pressure applied by CBT. Of course, I have yet to explain what CBT is. But speaking of answers, CBT did more than just give answers to my problems that I had long wrestled with. It even explained my questionable...
Fucking what, dude? Oh wait, no, if that's... Serial gaslighter checks out. This isn't two-colored eyes, so... Is that Sega? The implication, based off of the way that her hair is that it's... This might be Sega, which would check out. But I thought that this was Kogasa at first, but...
taste in women. Have I fixed that? Well, my questionable taste in women. Have I fixed that? Well, let's talk about the game. CBT with Yuka Kazumi is a short visual novel offering a large variety of branching dialogue paths for a high amount of replayability.
They all kind of lead to the same thing.
A single run will take you roughly 15 minutes depending on your speed, but I would say most people will enjoy doing multiple playthroughs. The game is also Steam Deck certified, so you can receive CBT on the go. The game is not afraid to ask the hard questions, or to apply its equally harsh treatment of CBT onto the player. And it does so with more grace and sincerity than that one friend who always insists on giving life advice, even though nobody asked for it. You know, the one whose life is also in shambles, but has it all figured out. Except life is only out to get them specifically, hence they can maintain a facade of psychological authority.
That's my brother. Bio brother, I should specify.
That friend. From the beginning, the game greets you with a calming atmosphere that persists to its conclusion. The music is relaxing and the art is reminiscent of Zun's art style with a personal touch that makes it stand out as particularly endearing. This atmosphere is important because the game's focus is around mental health, utilizing something called cognitive behavioral therapy, whatever that means. While Yuka assures you that she is no replacement for a properly trained medical professional or your friend who insists they are, she does walk you through a great number of exercises and questions with regard to your mental state, the goal being to grant you a tool with which you might logically recontextualize everyday situations to ease the burdens on your psychological health. And the game does this with both wit and humor, aptly integrated while remaining considerate of the topic. But there is still the burning question in the forefront of your mind. What is CBT? The truth is, deep down, you already knew what CBT was, even before you clicked on this video. You knew exactly what it was, and were simply waiting for me to say it out loud. Well, your wait is over. I'll tell you what CBT is. It is the solution. You need simply must.
I think that the juxtaposition on like this is not juxtaposition. I'm using a fancy word that I don't know what it means, just because my brain decided. The bait and switch, that's the word I'm looking for. That's the actual term. But the bait and switch on this is a little less strong. Knowing like what this actually is, and you know, it's already kind of been mentioned as to that it's cognitive behavioral therapy. That's the answer. Yada yada yada.
The courage to open yourself to the experience, to apply it directly to the affected area, and hopefully grow as a person. Oh look, I think someone just dropped a super cool copy of CBT with Yuka Kazumi. I hope it's still usable. Well, if not, I happen to have 10 more courtesy of the developer Sigyad Games. I'll be giving these away on Twitter over the course of the next few days. And if you aren't lucky enough to receive a free copy, the game is only $1 American when it isn't.
Yeah, it's...
And if you're convinced you'll enjoy this game, consider picking up its DLC, Patchouli Knowledge's Surprise, for an additional American dollar. What's it about? Well, read the title. I would also encourage you to check out some of the developers' other games. They have...
I Am Saki was pretty fun. They are making another... like a sequel to I Am Sakia. But they're making it not in the Doom engine, which is interesting. I mean, it's probably because... one of the complaints that they got is, oh, why is this cost $5 on sale when it's just a Doom wad? Which I guess is a fair criticism.
Of Toho fan games, as well as a growing
I got
collection
a
of
decent
original
amount of time out of it.
all of which are pretty great. I might even cover some of these later. But on that note, that's all I really have for today. If you haven't already, consider subscribing for more Toho-related content. I'll see you next time. I'm gonna go bust my ball.
Alright, just for that last joke, sure. I don't know if we'll watch this at all, because it's just a Q&A kind of deal. We may do this one and this one and then that. We'll play it by ear. Seeing all the food in the freaking previous video actually did make me hungry, though. I need to hunt myself.
Since
also,
the
I
beginning
didn't
of
have a
time,
whole lot.
Man has
freaking...
asked the question.
Can I please? I also need to freaking find something to eat, because yesterday I didn't really... I don't know. It didn't leave me satisfied. That's what I'm saying.
Since the beginning of time, man has asked the question, would you? To which at least one undoubtedly answered, would.
Not would. Will. Has she really done any freaking implications of yanderism? Checks out. Checks out. Kagero. The wings on... Is this freaking... Who is this? Is this Koakama? The tail makes me think it might be. And I think those wings are attached to her head. She's like the only one I can think of that really has a tail. Uh-huh. Sure do love getting bombarded with fucking bots, dude. I'll also tag a ban onto that one. I wonder if there's a Sari for that. Either way.
Yet despite this universal proclivity, humanity seems to jump the theoretical gun. There still remains the question of, could you? Romance, whatever its form and its subsequent results, are a topic found universally in humanity's storytelling.
Will you show me? I'd be right happy to. Listen, I'm just gonna say, I, as well as many others, would agree. I may not be able to, but God am I going to try to find out. The could answer will be found out.
Telling, of course, also extending outside of the humane. Just ask Zeus. Whether it be gods or otherwise, nothing is safe or sacred when it comes to humanity's most primal
What the fuck,
drives.
dude?
But given my typical subject matter, and in the interest of keeping the topic relatively tame, I will modify this question to, could you date a yokai? And I plan to give a conclusive answer. But to do that, we need to talk about what
Believed in yokai, mysterious beings with
makes
supernatural
a
powers.
yokai. Japanese belief is based in animism. Though people today might not be religious, the effects of these beliefs has shaped their cultural evolution. Yokai were ways to explain phenomena beyond human understanding. Giving not answers, yokai were ways to
Suddenly appear and give people fright.
explain
Okay.
phenomena beyond human understanding. giving not answers, but names to one's fears of the unknown. The kanji for yokai are yo, meaning attractive, bewitching, or calamity, and kai, meaning mystery or wonder. For example, the kappa, like Nitori, are famous yokai with many legends surrounding them. The Japanese believed that they pulled people down into the water, a supernatural answer for drowning victims and strong river currents. But just as there are these gruesome stories about them, there are details about them loving sumo wrestling and cucumbers. There are even legends of Kappa helping people rather than harming them. And yet this dichotomy is not unique to Kappa. It is found in most yokai. With some even being predominantly kind to humans. So if yokai were meant to be these answers to humanity's fears and troubles, why are those same yokai accompanied by so many positive?
He do be styling though. Also, holy shit, dude. I get that he's like supernatural, but not even a pack at that point, it's a bundle.
Stories. Why were all of these endearing traits added and passed alongside their legends? The answer to these questions lies within this scroll drawn in the 16th century. This is the Hyaki ya Gyozu, Demon's Night Parade illustration. This piece is famous, and notably, it stands as the earliest known depiction of yokai. This would be the catalyst for many other artists to begin depicting all sorts of yokai in their own work. These terrifying myths slowly became familiar and beloved parts of everyday life.
Am I allowed to show this? I don't know if I'm allowed. I don't know if I'm allowed to show this. Let me. While I pause and talk. Not exactly the greatest time to pause. I need to make myself larger because there's also the one in the back that's showing off. I have several questions about whoever invented the tanuki on that one, like. However, that is a friendly reminder to anyone that likes Mamazo that under that dress she is packing a little bit more than you might be expecting. And she can fly with it. But I do kind of want to, like... Ooh, that would be a good idea for, like, a creature design type stream, is to, like, skim through, like, different yokai and take a little bit of inspiration and, like, add to it and whatnot, you know? Let me... Before I move myself back into a more reasonable spot.
The art that resulted from...
Okay. Swap back over to this. I don't have a specific keybind for that.
Exhibited yokais creating their own shrines, holding festivals, dancing, and partying. The yokai were emulating humans, parodying them, and yet these depictions were cute, endearing even, like picture books with animals dressed up as humans going about their day. It's no wonder that the Japanese grew fond of them. Their legends began to be recontextualized in a more positive light. Looking back at our kappa example, instead of the cause for drownings, one could instead frame them as a warning.
Wait! That's Armageddon! I know this dude! I recognize that face! She's also if that's Armageddon, that means that she's also packing a little more than you'd expect underneath that skirt.
Sign to keep people safe. The same being said for all manner of once dangerous yokai. By the 18th century, a craze over yokai began, stemming from the creation of Toriyama Sekien's Gazuhyaki.
Scream Dog.
Illustrated Night Parade of 100 Demons, a 4-part catalog dedicating each page.
I wish Nemino got, like, more credit. Oh, that's someone I should draw. Also, it's Kraka's birthday coming up. I had an idea. Oh, right, I was going to draw Urzoku.
To a single yokai. And if you were wondering, the concept of a night parade actually predates these illustrations. It's even the basis for one of Suika's titles and one of Mamizo's spell cards in Toho 13.5. This catalog's popularity saw the creation of children's games, more art, and the increased popularization of sharing scary stories. After turning these formless beings into pictures, humans were taking control of them, taming them in a way. As they did so, they became more fond of them. The relationship between humans and yokai evolved from one of fear to one of love, and many began to believe it mutual. And that brings us to the Toho Project.
Yep. A lot of it's like freaking them more loving each other, though. Also, I had to...
In both of my world-building essays about the series, I explain how faith equals power, belief equals reality. These two statements are...
What's the word I'm looking for? Snooze ads, because we were about to run an AM where still... Even without me pausing in order to talk about various things, we're still fucking 3 minutes out.
Are the foundation for everything else in the series. In that case, the yokai seen in Zun's works are probably closer to reality than one would think. Rather than a flanderization of Japanese myth, the series is a celebration of it. But who cares about that?
There she is again. And honestly, knowing Armageddon, this is probably more accurate of an image than you might expect.
You clicked on this video to see if you could kiss them and stuff. Which is forbidden, by the way. But that's the important part, isn't it? Forbidden love is a trope found universally across different cultures. The underdog story of romance. That extends to plots about love between humans and mythological beings. Myths about yokai and humans being together are no exception. One of which being Lafcadio Hearn's Yuki Onna. And believe it or not, there's a subgenre of Japanese myth for these stories called Magical Wife, which is exactly...
Wait, what?
There's a subgenre of Japanese myth for these stories called Magical Wife, which is exactly what it sounds like. But
the inspiration from Maribel. I want to know... Oh, I would really, really love to freaking talk with Joel about that freaking... I mean, obviously I'm like small fry, so like it'd be really weird to like reach out, but like Joel has been talking about wanting to do like a more safer work oriented Monster Girl encyclopedia, and if he ever gets around to actually doing that, I would absolutely love to be a part of that. Dibs on Gazer. Gazer is one of my favorite monsters of all time in the Monster Girl encyclopedia base. I call dibs on that. Mark my words.
Because it means dating monster girls is not only possible, it's part of the human canon. And to clarify, when I say the human canon, I'm not talking about the canon of a storyline. A canon is like one part in a line of volumes. So to clarify, I mean on the bookshelf of humanity, there is an entire volume for dating monster girls. And
Let's
it's next
fucking
to
go.
1990's Pretty Woman. Let's take Seija as an example of an utterly undateable character. Her absolute contrarian nature could
Nelly, evil, irredeemable, red flags everywhere. I mean, yeah. However,
then be seen not as the ultimate red flag, but a narrative conflict under the forbidden love trope that foreshadows some resolution for the sake of a story. Of course, we're talking
does she canonically
about
stink? Or is that just a freaking... just because she's a shitter? Which, I mean, like, half of Jinsokyo is full of shitters, so... You're either a shitter or a shit stirrer. Unless you're one of the 5 people sent to solve the shittering. That also... I don't know. Does it apply to reality? Who knows?
reality, not a story. But going off our previously established idea that belief equals reality, the rules of fantasy would apply here. It doesn't mean the story will end happily, but you have a shot. And if Seija is even remotely possible,
So you're saying there's a
anything is
chance.
possible. To summarize, between the historical shift towards depictions of endearing yokai who emulate and even sometimes protect humans, and humanity's own inclination towards stories of interspecies affairs, human yokai romance naturally became a prominent trope in media over the years. Therefore,
Isn't Magnus Bride, like, only loosely romance? I thought that, like... I don't know.
or by the logic of Gensokyo's belief equals reality, dating yokai is not only possible, but plausible. For better or worse, yokai cannot exist without us. They are the yin to our yang, the law birthed by chaos, the fear that
Jinsokyo
binds
works
our
on orc
curiosity.
logic. You are welcome. Another connection to 40k. There... honestly, freaking the overlap between Toho fans and freaking Warhammer fans is ever closer to a complete circle in the Venn diagram.
The primitive answers to sate innocent questions of reality, and for that, we care about them, and conversely, perceive them as caring for us. Now, for those of you quick on the uptake, did I just bait people with suggestive imagery and promises of magical wives? Just a ramble about the historic-cultural evolution yokai undertook as a result of artistic trends?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And I'd do it a third time, but whether or not you saw it coming, I would be happy if you still came out the other end of it having enjoyed the ride, and perhaps joining me again next time. But until then, thanks.
Listen. Regardless of what you say, the fact that this image is in this video already labels him as top tier and cultured individuals in my freaking book. That being said, absolutely love it.
For watching. Her musical theme's called Lonesome Werewolf, and she's been looking for ways to meet people, so she has people to talk to in her spare time. I'll give her something to do in her fucking free time.
That was the kind of horny freaking ending that I expected from Pancreas in this post-credits thing. This is probably copyrighted music. I'm actually not going to continue this. Give me one moment. I'm going to get a refill of my drink, and then we will do our final stretch. I need to remember what I had set as... Because this is my small screen games. I need to set something for, you know, React Andy. And then I also, from there, need to... I was wondering why I couldn't hear myself. It's because I put the wrong earbud in. But from there, I also need to... set up my hotkey to where I also get moved into this corner for that. Let's go with this. We'll go with the inspirations video because I also take a lot of inspirations for, you know, obviously stuff in Syncope. So, you know, I probably have a bit to yap about in it. And it's 12 minutes, 15 minutes till midnight. So it'll get us close to our preferred time of ending. Even if it's not, like, exact.
This is not Sakuya, but these two characters from the same manga, their names are Patrolly and Cherno. Today,
Interesting.
I'm going to be talking about the character inspirations for Touhou 6, Embodiment of Scarlet Devil.
Oh, there's so many that we're actually just doing EOSD only? Oh, we are just doing EOSD. Interesting.
While the prior PC-98 games pull primarily from pop culture, sometimes shame.
I'm just gonna say this now. Pulling from rants? Depending on your point of view, pretty alright choice. It's a cultured choice regardless of if you like the freaking content that's in that series.
Shamelessly, the Windows games pull primarily from mythology and history. That is, with the exception of Touhou 6. The characters and even the writing feels similar to that of the PC-98 games. You can tell it was 6. The characters and even the writing feels similar to that of the PC-98 games. You can tell it was the transition where Zun was trying to figure out what he wanted the series to become, before it finally started to click with Touhou 7 and 8. Touhou 6 is much more simple. Speaking of simple...
If I remember correctly, 6 was actually supposed to be like his end before it took off. I don't remember which one it was, but I know that Zun has gone on record saying that he didn't expect it to continue as far as it has.
Let's talk about Rumia. One of the things she's best known for is her T-posing she does, which is supposed to be a reference to Big J. And yeah, that's something you'll notice with a lot of Touhou 6. Zun really wanted to go heavy on the Shanghai Alice bit. There's a constant alteration of explicitly Eastern and Western influences. Even your two player character choices are an Eastern Shrine Maiden and a Western Witch.
I mean, like, the entirety of EOSD fits that. It's literally a Western, potentially Romanian mansion with a French maid dropped into feudal Japan. As far as, like, where about Gensokyo is culturally, I believe. Minus the warring nations. Unless you count the moon. The moon's always at fucking war. Or attempting war, I don't know. They're in a weird spot.
Which gives perspective on these random tangents.
Oh. Doesn't it remind you of a saint crucified on a cross? It's, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. Not trying to trick me, are you? Only seen humans in the form of a drink. Actually, humans are a bit more complicated than black tea, most of them are anyway, but chickens. I guess we'll get there when we get to Remy. You're getting in the way of cleaning again, dear maid. I'll be arrested under the Washington Convention if I... For the sake of... I'm gonna private tab this. Distinct events, constitutional articles of confederation, George Washington unanimously elected. Principles on NZ confiscated art. What? I guess we'll get there when we get there.
Within the dialogue, but Rumia's main bit is her ability to manipulate darkness. It sounds like something an endgame boss would have. However, Zun thought it would be funny to make a final-sounding enemy be the very first boss in the series, something known as a deochi, a punchline that comes right at the beginning as the comedian comes onto the stage. In fact, Zun mentioned in an
what did he say?
Right at the beginning as the comedian comes onto the
It's definitely a strong opener.
Stage. In fact, Zun mentioned in an interview that the entire 6th game was meant to be a sort of punchline. It would be a series titled Eastern, but the first game would prominently feature a Western mansion and Western mythology.
Yep.
And Rumia exists to be the opening to the opening punchline. Her name could also be romanized as Lumia, as in the Latin word for lumen, which means light. As a yokai of darkness that uses moonlight spell cards, this wouldn't be too much of a stretch, though Zun has explicitly used Rumia, so we can't know for sure. Finally, this art by Izumi Takemoto is reminiscent of Rumia and could be the inspiration for her design. This one might be a reach, but Takemoto's style was a huge inspiration for Zun, and it primarily shows in the PC-98 era. For example, Ellen was based on one of Takemoto's characters. Sorry, did I say based on? I meant to say he literally took Ellen, name, pose, and everything, and
Listen. I may or may not have done similar things. Not with, like, name and pose and whatnot, for, like, characters I've taken. Unless you count the fact that I just kinda used the character official art or anything for the D&D games that I put them in. Or in the case of one of them, fan art. But there's nothing wrong with taking a little extra inspiration in areas that you're not as worried about. And in, like, the case of Zun especially, like, freaking... Well, he did sell it, so I don't sell my D&D games. I don't charge people to play my D&D games. One day we will make the system, though. Maybe, hopefully, possibly. But he was focused mostly on the music for, like, the first few games. And he just kind of made a game because he wanted to make game music and no one was hiring. And now look at him. And now he makes beer. He also makes games, but he really likes his beer factory. And apparently it's pretty alright. I live in the US, so I can't fucking import any of it. But Narp imported some of it and tasted it, and he said it was pretty decent.
Just shoved her into the game. If you think this video is long, the PC98 one is gonna be a doozy. But anyway, that's Rumia. She's a girl with a serious power that controls darkness, yet her first line is so bright and casual, starting with Sonanoka. I like her because she's the representation of Touhou's world being contrarian, where the savage becomes relaxed. Her ribbon was designed to have some secrets within, but it hasn't been used so far.
What? That one I didn't know about. I mean, it could be a sister thing to Moko's thing. Where I think Moko's is out like explicitly stated to be just talismans, warding talismans that have been fashioned into bows. It could be similar to that.
Cherno is the first of several characters that take some inspiration from the manga Sarai by Masahiro Shibata, which ran from 1998 to 2008. I'm going to be bringing up Sarai a lot in this video because it influenced Touhou a lot more than one would think. The manga takes place in a post-apocalyptic world with monsters, slave trafficking, and any other things that you could think to shove in that sort of setting.
Jesus
and the ones
Christ,
who are sent
dude.
to solve the problem? Battle maids. The most prominent of these is our titular main character, Sarai. It's a seinen manga. The most prominent of these is our titular main character, Sarai.
Listen, if it sells the books, do whatever cover you want. I mean, it's not even the freaking most, like, explicit cover I've seen from something that's non-H, so... Go off. Seriously though, Maids with Guns is kind of a vibe though.
It's a seinen manga featuring body horror, high-impact sensual violence, nudity, and other very not Touhou.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it is just, you know, explicitly there.
Things. Instead, Touhou pulls mainly from the aesthetics of the characters, namely the battle maids and their uniforms. The mob caps that the maids wear feature prominently in Touhou's character.
It is kind of interesting that there are, like, those segments of just the very cutesy bits amongst what... I mean, I'm going to probably be ending after I watch this, so I'll probably just join in post-stream at this point.
character designs during the early Windows era. And as we'll see later, the maid uniform itself is quite similar to Sakuya's maid uniform. One of the recurring characters
Quite
is
similar.
a maid named Cherno, a short
In massive quotes, quite similar. Ignore the fact that that's a very similar to her pose as well in there.
short-tempered maid, often seen taking care of Sarai's injuries. So where did this ice fairy bit come from? Well, according to Zun's writing at the Shibuya exhibition for Toho 6, aside from confirming the Sarai connection, Chiruno was almost Chirudo for the word chilled. So I'm guessing he took the name, saw the word chill in it, and said, this character will be ice-based. And if you're wondering why it's spelled like this, the first official romanization was in PCB, where she was a mid-boss. Speaking of firsts, many people know Cherno as a fairy, but she may not have originally been intended as one. In Toho 6, her Omake text refers to her as an ice spirit, while in Toho 7, her profile...
I mean, both of those kind of got taken over by... Okay, not Yokai of Ice, but like Spirit kind of got taken over by Letty. No, maybe. I don't know.
calls her a yokai of ice. Yet, Lily White's profile in the same game explicitly calls her a fairy. It isn't until Toho 9 that Cherno is called an ice fairy, the same game with the infamous 9-ball. So you could say Cherno's identity in the fandom truly solidified with the release of Phantasmagoria of Flower View. Before Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, weak characters didn't have a design set in stone. I decided it was time to give those mobs a concrete design that lines up with the current Toho design philosophy, and I gave one of them a special personality. That one special mob was Cherno. She made multiple appearances throughout the series, and she's still relevant as of today, which I'd never expected at the point I made her. If only we could say the same for Mei Ling, or as
Has Mei Ling shown up in any other games since then, though? Like, at all? Come to think of it? I mean, like, when it comes to manga appearances, she shows up whenever one of the other characters goes to SDM, but, like... I don't know. It is kind of interesting to think about the fact that one of the most iconic characters from the series almost was regarded as the throwaway character.
Zun originally describes her, Chinese girl. Described as a Chinese-looking yokai, she guards the Scarlet Devil Mansion using Chinese-styled martial arts. There are theories that she might have been based on the Red Guards of the Chinese Revolution, or even the main character of Sarai because they both have red hair. For my first Windows debut with a title Eastern, wouldn't it be amusing if I designed it around a Western-styled mansion? That's the contrarianism Embodiment of Scarlet Devil was based on. I made it more fun by making a Chinese gatekeeper guarding a Western-style mansion. She's the character born from such extreme contrarianism. I honestly think that's the extent of her inspiration. Patchouli...
Damn. Mei Ling got... Cherno may have gotten a little extra as a result of Zun deciding, why not? Mei Ling did not get that benefit.
is very straightforward. As mentioned in my very first video, patchouli is a type of purple-flowered plant, which is the name's most likely origin. But Toho's patchouli was actually inspired by Sarai's patchouli, a purple-haired maid with healing magic pictured here. She
Interesting.
debuted in Sarai's 7th volume in October of 2001, less than a year before Toho 6's August 2002 release. Even patchouli's magic is worth talking about. It manipulates 7 elements, the 5 Chinese elements also known as the Wuxing phases, and the sun and moon elements. These 7 elements correspond to the Japanese
Moon Day, Mars Day, Mercury Day.
days of the week, and patchouli actually uses them in the order starting from Tuesday for fire and ending on Monday for the moon. Zun actually refers to her as the one-week girl himself in the Omake text. I will, however,
Interesting.
note that the Japanese calendar wasn't directly based on wuxing. Instead, it was based on the 7 classical planets: the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, and Saturn. And just like with wuxing, Patchouli can combine these elements for a variety of results. And as an aside, Zun never intended for her to have striped clothing apparently. He was surprised to see so many fan works have them. I guess these were supposed to be shadows. And then
Gotta love classic Zunworks. Leading to unintentional things because Zun, the musical artist, not a conventional artist.
we have Sakuya. We can start with the obvious. The ability to stop time, a Dio color palette in the fighting games, the Dio poses, and even a spell card named The World. Sakuya's most obvious inspiration is Dio from Part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But is it her biggest inspiration? To answer that, we'll continue with Sarai. This character
figure.
from before, her name is Nudge, and just like Dio, she has a fighting game color palette for Sakuya. She's a maid that features heavily in Volume 9 of Sarai, released in April of 2002.
Alright, I'm looking this up. I hope that there's a translation for it. Some of these freaking covers actually are kind of sick as hell. I kind of want to... There. I'll look more into that off stream. I mean, if he says that it's got some of the content it does, I'm obviously not going to look through any of it on stream. We already had that close call with Armageddon's freaking art in the previous video. It's not even a close call. The closer call was the Tanuki balls that just showed up.
Again, only half a year from Toho 6's release. As you can see, she looks a lot like Sakuya. In the manga, Nudge could be described as a bit clumsy, but takes her duties seriously. As for this character, her name is Flicker, the hot-blooded, competitive secondary protagonist of Sarai. While she doesn't have the striking resemblance that Nudge has, she primarily fights with knives just like Sakuya, so Sakuya could be seen as a blend of these two characters. But before I move on, there is one potential inspiration that we'll probably never get confirmation for. This is the Shinto goddess of Mount Fuji, Konohana Sakuya Hime, also known as simply Sakuya Hime. The topic itself deserves its own video, but it's theorized that Sakuya was originally meant to be Sakuya Hime. Now, does Sakuya herself take any inspiration from the goddess? Outside of potentially the name, not really, but I wanted to bring it up as it's a pretty interesting theory. Going back to JoJo for a moment, while Sakuya was a reference to Part 3 Dio, Romelia has elements of Part 1 Dio. Most of Part 1 takes place in a giant mansion that looks like the SDM. At this point in the series, Dio doesn't have a stand, but he is transformed into a vampire. And one of the enemies that Dio sends against JoJo is Jack the Ripper, who fights by throwing knives just like...
Why do the Japanese like Jack the Ripper so much? Like, okay, maybe it's not like, oh, everything gets Jack the Ripper, but like... But there's a weird frequency at which Jack the Ripper shows up in Japanese media.
Sakuya. Sakuya even has a spell card called Jack the Ripper. And then,
No, yeah, that
and
checks
Romelia
out.
quote an exchange between JoJo and Dio where the former asks, "How many people's blood have you sucked at this point?" To which Romelia and Dio answer, "How many slices of bread have you eaten in your life?" While Sakuya's...
And then... That's how freaking the interaction in... The interaction in Izakaya happens because of that, because she talks about how she doesn't eat bread, she eats rice. And she says she can remember every time she had rice in izakaya. Or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote.
His connection with Dio is obvious, Remelia's is deceptively just as strong. Aside from JoJo, Hellsing is another vampire series that could be a source of inspiration. The Hellsing Manor is similar to the SDM. There's also a vampire hunter named Alexander Anderson who throws holy bayonets in a similar fashion to Sakuya's knives, and seems to have an unlimited supply of them, also like Sakuya. Alucard himself...
Which, you know, there's plenty of fan art that leans more into this one than it does the JoJo references.
Is Vlad the Impaler, whom Remelia claims to be descended from. At the time of Toho 6's release, Hellsing was halfway through its publication and its anime was currently airing, so it certainly has some weight to it. Her sprite in Toho 6 is actually based on this art of nudge. Her stage theme, the descendant of Sepesh, is a reference to Vlad Sepesh, the
Are you okay, Romania? Like, fucking... That's not how that's pronounced. I mean, it's your fucking word. You freaking... You pronounce it however you fucking want, but like... Are you guys okay over there? Actually, was Vlad Romanian? Because I know that one of his descendants was, wound up becoming, French, yeah, national hero of Romania. But it was a French king, one of his descendants was.
Inspiration for Dracula, whom Remelia claims to be descended from, though her sister claims otherwise. Her boss theme is musically inspired by Beethoven's 8th Sonata, but its title is actually a reference to Maurice Ravel's Pavane pour une enfant défunte, or Pavane for a dead princess.
Interesting.
Pavane being a slow processional dance popular during the European Renaissance period. And finally, we have this game character, Remia, from the RPG Toshin City 2 by Alicesoft, the guys that made Rants.
I can't shrug with this model, however, I return to the point of Zune really likes his rants. Also, Alicesoft wound up working with or did they?
From the RPG Toshin City 2 by Alicesoft.
Did they combine? Because they're now saying hi, Alice. I know that Alicesoft has worked with on some occasions. I don't think that they're the ones that combined in. I think Shanghai Alice is just Zun's creation. Company.
The guys that made Rants. Yeah, those.
Nice censoring.
Those games. Remia is nicknamed the Eternally Sleeping Princess, reminiscent of our eternally young dead princess. Zune himself said he enjoyed playing Toshin City 2 as a college student, which wasn't long before Toho 6, so it's possible this is where her name comes from. And with that, we finally make it to the extra stage, Flandra Scarlet. Like Remelia, her name may come from a character in Toshin City 2, a woman named Francesca Durimgray, nicknamed Fran or Flan. At a glance, this doesn't seem like much of a connection. For those unaware, Flandra's original Japanese pronunciation is actually Furandoru, and Francesca here, Furan Dorimugure, omitting just the last two characters of her last name and merging the two before them, and you get an exact match. This would potentially explain the origin behind her name. In the game, she was enslaved in a dungeon and tortured to the point of insanity. Flandre is likewise described as insane in Touhou 6's Omake text. As for Flandre's iconic wing,
which in later things it's kind of like established that she's not like insane, she's just fucking bored. I mean, she's insane from the perspective of anyone else because A, they freaking don't have any like reference points for the way that most of her stuff works, and B, she had a lot of freaking energy to get out and freaking at that point. Which is a stark contrast from when she's later visited by Aya. Where she's, you know, been in Jinsokyo for a while and occasionally freaking gets visits and whatnot and freaking is able to actually let out that energy and shit.
They might be inspired by marks from Kirby's Superstar. Some people say their boss themes are similar, but I don't think they're close enough to say for sure. So that's all I have for Flandre, but it would be remiss of me to not talk about her theme. UN Owen was her. This is just one of many Agatha Christie references Zune has slid into the series over the years. In this case, Agatha Christie's novel And Then There Were None is a murder mystery where two culprits' names were UN Owen, short for unknown, as the victims realized too late that nobody actually knew who they were. Zune chose this name for Flandre's song because she's an unknown being. Thus, UN Owen was her. Unknown was her. Flandre's survival spell card, Secret Barrage, And Then There Were None, is of course a direct reference to that same novel. Now, normally I would stop here, but the credit theme for Touhou 6 is one of my favorite songs in the series. Back when I first heard it, it was still being translated as Crimson Belvedere, Eastern Dream. However, the translation has since been updated to Scarlet Chamber, Eastern Dream, as it is a reference to one of what are considered the 4 great classic novels in Chinese literature, Dream of the Red Chamber. The novel could also be translated as A Dream of Red Mansions. It even has a term referring to the study of the novel, redology, as in the color red, as in the character Cole in
Also, I love how freaking Koakuma just gets nothing. I mean, she's like a... She's just kind of exists, but as far as Touhou 6 is concerned, but still.
Komakyo for the game's title and Hong in Mei Ling's name. I love that it's the credit theme that has a reference which ties everything up to this point together. And speaking of tying everything up, that's all I have for Touhou 6. I hope to see you again next time.
That was a year ago. I'm a little terrified to know how things progress in any of the others. If he's even going to continue, like, doing those. It's also been 7 months since he uploaded. Which I have no idea what the usual gaps are, but I don't know. Like, when I first found him was 2 years ago, so. And this is the extent of all the videos that he's done, so it's not like he's, oh, I upload every single day, and then suddenly just disappeared for 7 months. Either way, let's hop over to this. I'm still bald, but that's okay. I didn't know that YouTube had that bug. There's only like 2 sites I know of that have that bug. It still leaves whatever you last watched queued up in the background. So when I hit play in order to get music playing again, I just got freaking hit with the beginning of that video again. Alright, while I'm hunting for someone to raid. I don't have any real announcements. I don't... Did I mention it? Oh, right, I did mention it at the beginning of the stream. This month's, this month's art stream, or this month's Nasu art is going to be, me working on another emote, another animated emote. We're going to finally get a dink donk, like I said, so I can actually have what's the word I'm looking for? It for announcements and whatnot. With my new stuff, this is for anyone that hasn't disappeared yet. I might wind up streaming tomorrow morning. Like, just this little goofy, like, super early morning stream kind of deal. Depending on how I'm doing as far as commission progress. Because obviously if I'm super behind on that, then I need to work on that instead. And I cannot stream that. I can't stream it on any site. Unless I can, like I've said to other people, find my old Picarto account. Who do I want to raid into? Let's see how this person's vibe is. Yeah, we'll give it a shot, why not? I recognize that person. That's probably how I... Whoever they also watch is who I probably found this person through. Okay. Well, that's at least a freaking marker that is not bad. A good point of reference. God, loading up Twitch for the first time, though, at the end of the stream sure is still, actual pain. That being said, though, let me see if I can start raid. Sometimes people have, like, below 10 can't raid for the sake of, you know, avoiding shitters. I'll be back Thursday. Like I said, we may do more Deponia. Probably gonna do that. Depending on heat. It also depends on heat, because if it's too fucking hot, then I don't want to do anything, to be honest. I don't know. It's supposed to rain tonight, so hopefully things cool off, and then we're able to do stuff. I'm not going to announce it anywhere. When I go live, if I do go live tomorrow morning, but there's the socials. You can join the Discord, follow me on Blue Sky, or follow me on Twitter, and I keep it in things such as when I go live, what I'm going live with, and art, like you see in the corner, and I will be working on over the next couple days. I don't have any real other announcements. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the follows, raids, all that good jazz, and I will see you guys Thursday, probably. Love y'all. Bye. That's still not working like it's supposed to. I forgot to do that.